Let's try this again. Calling to order the school board meeting of October the 3rd, 2023. Our invocation and our pledge will be led this evening by Ms. Crowder.
Lord Jesus, we come before you tonight as a body politic and as the people. And Father, we ask for your wisdom, we ask for your grace, and we ask for your guidance in dealing with the matters that come before us. And Lord, we ask these things in your name. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. In the name of the Father, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. Michael Agord. Mr. Gregory Harding. Mr. Matthew Ford.
Here.
Mrs. Debbie Benoit.
Here.
Mr. Don Crowders.
Here.
Mr. Clyde Hamner.
Here.
Mr. Roger Dale Dehart.
Here.
Dr. Maybelle Trahan.
Here.
And Mr. Dane Voisin.
Here.
Madam President, you have a quorum.
Before we begin the agenda, we'd like to recognize some of our fellow employees that have gone to that reward.
Let's please have a moment of silence for the following individuals. Sylvia Cunningham Talbert, retired school teacher. Charlotte Station, retired school food service technician. Anita Moore LaRose, retired school teacher and mother-in-law of Miss Sandra LaRose. Joyce K. McGee Bajeron, retired school food service technician. Leffie M. Smith, retired school bus operator. Irene Martin, retired teacher and former school board member. Thank you.
Item number 5 on the agenda, approval of minutes of school board meeting, September 5th, 2023. Recommendation that the board approve the minutes of the school board meeting of September 5th, 2023, as recorded. Moved by Mr. Dehart.
Second.
Second by Mr. Ford. Any public comment? Mr. Dehart.
No, ma'am, thank
Mr.
you.
Ford. Any other board members? Any objections? None heard, so ordered. Item number 6, recognition and announcements. Item A is recognition of a very special school, Broadmoor Elementary, which was named as a national recipient of the 2023 Blue Ribbon School. Congratulations. Few words?
Thank you for the recognition. The award or the recognition is for the faculty. I have a very hardworking faculty and staff, students, parents. So it's not just the recognition of the leader, but the entire team. It takes a team to make that happen, and lots of hard work and dedication. So thank you.
Just a minute, just a moment, don't be Anybody has some words?
Superintendent Armstrong, guess what? I taught her too. Congratulations, Melissa. I'm very proud of you.
Thanks.
I'd just also like to extend my congratulations to you and all your staff, and that means everybody, cafeteria people, janitors, everybody at your school. Y'all all make it run, and that's why it is where it is today, being recognized.
Thank you.
This is my school. These are my people. These guys are awesome.
I want to congratulate the whole team because that's what I believe in, teamwork. And I know you exercised that already. And quite a few familiar faces that I remember years back. I've been here a long time. And I recognize, and I'm so happy to see them again. and I know they were good then, and they're even better now. So congratulations to the whole team. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Crowder?
So I never taught you and anything like that, but I know that the recognition is well-deserved, and congratulations to you and your whole team. Thank you very much for the hard work.
Mr. Wozniak?
Congratulations, y'all are doing a fantastic job. My 2 grandchildren go there, so good. So proud of y'all.
And let me tell you, they can eat ice cream.
Yeah.
I know, because I went through 2 gallons the other day serving the ice cream. We had an ice cream party to recognize the school, but we have a little bit of something for you.
Okay, thank you.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Since y'all are here, why don't y'all come over and take a big picture of the time?
I think they all need to say something, too.
Yeah, because they were quick to throw me up.
So while they're coming up, I'll say this, that Broadmoor was one of 9 schools
Correct.
selected as a Blue Ribbon winner. And out of the 9, 6 of them were selective admission schools. Broadmoor's not selective admission, it's very boundary driven. So that's even more just rewarding to know that y'all did that. So Melissa, you did a great job getting to that point. It was a lot of work, we know that in you, and I know you give kudos to all of your team, but I want to give kudos to you as a leader of that school and being diligent and working so hard for the kids at Baltimore. So congratulations to all of you. Thank y'all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we won't be offended if y'all leave at this point. Really,
Yeah,
no, y'all need to go enjoy.
yeah, y'all can go enjoy. I think the whole faculty can.
Oh, I know. That's administrative material there, but those 2 ladies.
All right. Item number 6, recognition, 6B, announcements. On October the 5th, at 4:30 p.m., the ERC Employee Representative Committee will meet. At 5:30, the PRC, the Parent Representative Committee, will meet. On October the 9th, Indigenous Peoples' Day, second Monday of October. On October the 12th through the 15th will be fall break. On October 17th, we have committee meetings beginning at 5 o'clock with Buildings, Food Service and Transportation, followed by Education, Technology and Policy, Finance, Insurance, and Section 16 Lands, and Executive Committee. On November the 7th, we have our 6 p.m. regular school meeting. Item number 7, beginning of the board committee reports, Finance, Insurance, 16 Lands Committee report, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Hamner.
Thank you, Dr. Trahan. The Finance, Insurance, and Section 16 Lands Committee met at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, September 19, 2023, in the boardroom of the school board office with the following members present, myself and Mr. Roger Dale Dehart. Also in attendance were Dr. Maybelle Trahan, Mr. Dane Voisin, Mrs. Debbie Benoit, Mr. Matt Ford, Mr. Don Crowdis, Mr. Greg Harding, Superintendent Bubba Orgeron, and members of the staff. The meeting was called to order. It began with the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Constranza, the risk manager, addressed the committee regarding retention of special counsel. Recommendation number 1, the committee recommends that the board approve and accept the attached resolution as presented requesting Attorney General approval for retention of special counsel as per Louisiana Revised Statute 42:263, and further authorize the superintendent and/or board president to sign all necessary documents pertaining thereto.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Dehart, seconded by Mr. Ford. Any members of the audience wish to address this? The resolution, by the way, members of the board, is in the attachments for the meeting that you received through the mail. Mr. Dehart?
No, sir, thank you.
Mr. Ford? Any other members of the board? Hearing no objections, the motion passes. Recommendation number 2, the committee recommends that the board approve and accept the attached resolution as presented, requesting Attorney General approval for the retention of special counsel as per Louisiana Revised Statute 42:263, an attorney-client fee contract in reference to social media, adolescent addiction, personnel injury product liability litigation, retaining Ron Austin Law, LLC, and further authorize the superintendent and/or board president to sign all necessary documents pertaining thereto, pending board attorney review and approval.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Ford,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Crowdis. And that attachment is also in this packet that you received in the mail, that resolution. Any members of the audience who wish to address this motion? Mr. Ford?
No, sir.
Mr. Crowdis? Okay. Any objection to the motion? Yeah, Mr.
I have a
Dehart.
question.
Sure.
Stan, our attorney, you agree with this resolution and this firm?
Yeah, and I believe I've already reviewed this contract. I think.
I just wanna make
We're on
sure.
the contract as well, so.
That's what I
we'll be
thought.
working with them, so.
I just wanted to hear it from you. Thank you.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dehart. Any other members of the board? Any objection? Hearing none, the motion passes. Recommendation number 3, the committee recommends that the board approve and accept the following highest bids received meeting all specifications for hunting and trapping leases on Section 16 lands for a 5-year period beginning October 4, 2023 through October 3, 2028. Allow the purchasing department to re-advertise those sections where no bid was received and or those sections in which leases were surrendered, and further authorize the board president to sign all necessary documents pertaining thereto.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Dehart,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Voisin. Any members of the public wish to address this motion? Mr. Dehart?
I'm very impressed with the 2 bids. I'm glad we had them and hopefully get some more. Thank you.
Mr. Voisin? Any other members of the board? Any objection to the motion? Hearing none, the motion passes. Superintendent Armstrong then addressed the committee on consideration of approval for a one-time salary supplement for 23-24. The committee recommends that the board approve and accept a one-time salary supplement as per House Bill 1 of the 2023 legislative session for those employees included in House Bill 1 funding plan in the amount of $2,000 for all full-time K-12 teachers and professional employees, and $1,000 for all full-time non-instructional support employees, funds to be derived from state funding, and further, approve a one-time salary supplement in the amount of $2,000 for all full-time pre-kindergarten, early childhood teachers, adult education teachers, and professional employees, and $1,000 for all full-time pre-kindergarten, early childhood, and adult education non-instructional support employees excluded from House Bill 1 funding plan, funds to be derived from the general operating fund for all full-time employees who are employed as of November 1st, 2023, and still employed as of November 16th, 2023. Supplement to be paid on November 16th, 2023. Moved by Mr. Dehart, seconded by Mr. Crowdis. Any members of the public wish to address this motion? Mr. Dehart?
Just one clarification. I know I read it a bunch of times, but I want to make sure I'm clear in my mind. The non-instructional full-time people is also included in this, like food service workers?
Yes, sir.
and Maintenance
sir.
people and
Yes,
stuff
sir.
like that?
Yes, sir.
Bus drivers, okay. Thank you.
Mr. Crowder?
Just want to clarify.
Any other members of the board? Mr. Ford?
My question is specifically, where do paraprofessionals fall in on this? Because they're considered instructional personnel, and it says non-instructional. So are they on the 2,000 or the 1,000?
1,000. Ms. Benoit?
Yeah, I said this at the committee meeting, that professional employee is confusing because we don't know who the professionals are. I mean, I think I know, but seriously, it needs to be defined because we won't have any hesitation or complaining from anyone that might think they are and they're not.
The professional employee piece? Okay.
Yeah.
So paraprofessionals are, like Mr. Hamner said, they're support. So they fall in the support. That's the 1,000. Professional employees, this one in particular is our administrator at adult ed in particular. So
Okay.
it falls under that, like what we pay for, since that's not included, that person in particular is the professional employee.
And that's fine.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
just
That's
think
the
it needs to
definition of
be
it.
defined
Mhm.
so that others don't think that they are.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Dehart?
And just clarify more, and it's not just because of personnel and maintenance, but we have licensed electricians, we have licensed air conditioner people, and that's professional or not?
Support,
non-professional?
there'd be
It's
support.
support?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
1,000.
because we have people that, are in that field that are not licensed, so I was just wondering if they're
Yep.
professional. Okay, thank you.
So we did talk about this at committee. It's a little too late to do the language change, I think, but in the future, I would like to see where we have a stratified, a tiered system where we know exactly tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 employees, so that way we know exactly where they fit in. So
I think that's
just,
a great idea.
yeah, something to consider in the future. I know it's too late for this. I don't want to
Yeah.
delay it, but yeah, thank you.
That's right. I like that, thank you.
If I can just offer some clarification, I was in Baton Rouge when this passed. It's written in the law exactly who gets the 2,000 and 1,000. We added in the kindergarten and adult ed because they were left out of the state budget that this is coming from.
So that's out of general fund then.
We're paying for that.
The second part is out of the general, yeah, from employee.
That's why the
benefit.
questions we asked, that's why we're trying to get clarity for the future.
But they fall under that same category as the ones that are in the budget from the state budget. They just weren't left out, so we're giving it to them as well.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that they were left out of the state budget. Do you know if that was by accident or on purpose in the legislative process?
So those positions are generally grant funded, and they're only for a certain period of time, so each year they have to renew. So they're not a budgetary item, it's a grant funding item.
And the grant in particular is the MFP
Exactly.
money. So
MFP.
they're not MFP funded, so it's outside of MFP. So this is under the umbrella of MFP, so everybody that falls in that would be funded through this outside. We're going to take care of that. And if I could add something, Mr. Hamner.
Yes, sir.
So
Please do.
we're very grateful for our legislators for doing this. Our employees are, on behalf of our employees, I thank them for doing that, and I can only hope and wish that this is a regular thing or something more permanent in the future. So we're looking forward to that possibility, which has been floated around that this could become permanent in the future. We hope as soon as like next year, we really could use that across the board for our employees.
Mr. Ford?
And I just want to highlight and reiterate that the money for the adult ed and pre-K, that's coming from our district, I don't know if it's general fund, but we're paying for it as a district because we want those people to be included. So that may be a good recruiting tool for the future because we value those employees just as much as the state values all the rest of them. Thank you.
Mr. Dehart?
I might add another comment that I talked to some legislators while we was in Baton Rouge, and the original plan was to not be a one-time supplement, it was going to be a salary adjustment, and it didn't pass. So at least they was able to salvage that. So They got some more homework to do in Baton Rouge if they want to maintain and have the performance schools that we have and continue to have and get better.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Any objection to the motion? Hearing none, the motion passes. Ms. Michelle Klingman, Supervisor of Finance, presented information on the monthly budget to actual comparison report and gave an update on the sales tax collections report. She stated that sales tax collections for the month of July 2023 are approximately 1.05% lower than July of 2022. There being no further business to come before the Finance, Insurance, and Section 16 Lands Committee, the meeting adjourned at 5:43 p.m. I turn
Thank
the
you,
meeting
Mr.
back over to
Hamner.
you, Dr. Trahan.
Next item, 7B on the agenda, is the executive report for the executive committee. Dear members of the board, the executive committee met immediately following the 5 p.m. Finance, Insurance, and Section 16 Lands Committee meeting on Tuesday, September 19, 2023, in the board meeting of the school board office with the following members present. Myself, President, Mr. Dane Voisin, Vice President, Mr. Michael Lagarde was absent. Also in attendance were Mr. Hamner, Ms. Benoit, Mr. Ford, Mr. DeHart, Mr. Crowders, Mr. Harding, Superintendent Mr. Orgeron, and members of his staff. The meeting was called to order. The executive committee had examined and authorized payments for invoices for the current month, including supplemental payroll and travel expenses. There were no committee members' concerns. Do I have a motion to accept the report? Motion by Mr. Voisin.
Second.
Second by Ms. Benoit. Any public comment? Mr. Voisin? Ms. Benoit?
No, ma'am.
Other board members? Any objections? None heard, so ordered. There being no further business before the executive committee, the meeting was adjourned at 5:45 p.m. Item 7C of the agenda tonight, Buildings, Food Service, and Transportation Committee report. Mr. Voisin.
Thank you, Madam President. The Building, Food Service, and Transportation Committee met immediately following the 5 p.m. Finance, Insurance, and Section 16 Land Committee and Executive Committee meetings on Tuesday, September 19, 2023, in the boardroom of the school board office with the following members: myself as chair, Mr. Harding as vice chair, and Dr. Trahan. Also in attendance with Mr. Hamner, Ms. Benoit, Mr. Ford, Mr. DeHart, Mr. Crowders, Superintendent Orgeron, and members of his staff. Recommendation number 1. The committee recommends that the board approve and authorize the purchasing department to advertise for bids for lawn care services for groups 4, 5, and 7. So move, Mr. Ford.
Second.
Second, Ms. Benoit. Any public comments? Mr. Ford? Yes, sir. Ms. Benoit?
No, sir.
Any other board members? Any objections? Hearing none, motion passes. Recommendation number 2, the committee recommends that the board approve and accept the lowest bid received, meeting all specifications for automated fuels and dispensing services from Fleet Core Technologies Operating Company, LLC, DBA Fuelman, 3280 Peachtree Road, Atlanta, Georgia, 30305, for a 33-month period with 2 3-year options to extend upon mutual agreement between both parties beginning October 4, 2023 through June 30, 2026, and further authorize the board president to sign all necessary documents pertaining thereto.
So moved.
So moved, Mr. DeHart. Second, Mr. Crowders. Any public comments? Mr. DeHart?
Yeah, it's good to have that long contract and lock in those prices.
Absolutely.
Good job, Ms. Dugas.
Mr. Crowders? Any other board members? Any objections? Hearing none, motion passes. Recommendation number 3, the committee recommends that the board approve and accept the following proposals received, meeting all specifications, for third-party air quality monitoring services for a 1-year period with 2-year options to extend upon mutual agreement between both parties beginning October 4, 2023, and further authorize the board president to sign all necessary documents pertaining thereto. So move, Mr. Crowders. Second, Dr. Trahan. Any public comments? Mr. Crowders? Dr. Trahan?
No, sir.
Any other board members? Any objections? Hearing none, motion passes. Recommendation number 4, the committee recommends that the board approve and issue the notice to proceed as per contractual agreements to Grow Flores Positary LLC for plans and specifications for the construction of softball fields at Ellender Memorial High School to be located on the Lewis Miller Career and Technical High School campus, and South Terrebonne High School to be located on the property adjacent to South Terrebonne High School, and for the completion of the softball field at Terrebonne High School, located behind Homer Junior High. Funds to be derived from the building fund, authorize the advertising of bids, direct that any major project changes be reported to the BF Buildings, Food Service, and Transportation Committee prior to advertising for bids, and further authorize the board president to sign all necessary documents pertaining thereto.
So moved.
So move Mr. Dehart.
Second.
Second, Ms. Benoit. Any public comments? Mr. Dehart?
No, sir, thank you.
Ms. Benoit?
No, sir.
Any other board members? Any objections? Hearing none, motion passes. Recommendation number 5, the committee recommends that the board approve and accept the lowest bid received, meeting all specifications for the window replacement project at Oak Lawn Middle School from BET Construction, Inc., P.O. Box 5658, Thibodaux, Louisiana 70302, in the amount of $2,596,702. Accept alternate number 1 to paint brick miscellaneous components and structures in the amount of $52,488. Accept alternate number 3 to remove ceramic tile and install new cladding at gym exterior in the amount of $49,630, and establish a total project budget in the amount of $2,902,512. Funds to be derived from the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, ESSER 3, $2,796,702, and local funds, $105,810, and further authorize the board president to sign all necessary documents pertaining thereto.
So moved.
So moved by Dr. Trahan. Second, Mr. Ford. Any public comments? Dr. Trahan?
Yes, I'm just so glad that we finally got things moving for Oak Lawn. It's been a long road. Those parents and those kids and teachers really need to get something, going. In the schools that have kids currently in it, I think it was the most damaged building we have. And I'm just so glad that we finally got something moving.
Well deserved, well needed. Thank you. Mr. Ford?
Yeah, I want to echo Dr. Trahan's sentiments, but also, we're revitalizing the east side. Most of the campuses on the east side, on those bayous, are either being rebuilt or remodeled, and I'm just hoping that people start coming back, because they're going to have some really nice schools to come back to.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Build it and they shall come.
East side is the best side. Shouldn't have said that. Okay.
Oh, watch out now.
Watch out.
Watch out now.
Just playing, guys, all right? Okay, Mr., there you go. Mr. Dehart.
I'm acting like I didn't hear that, but on the west side, Homer Junior High should be in line pretty soon to get some attention too. 'Cause,
Yes, sir.
they was in the same kind of situation, similar to Oak Lawn, and I'm glad Oak Lawn's being done. You can only do so much at one time.
Yes,
So
sir.
don't forget about the west side.
No,
So
absolutely
watch
not.
out.
Absolutely not. Any other board members? Any objections? Hearing none, motion passes. Recommendation number 6, the committee recommends that the board approve and accept the substantial completion dated August 10, 2023 for the re-roofing project at Acadian Elementary and Legion Park Elementary Schools. Ratify credit change order number 2 in the amount of $28,764.94. Upon completion of the punch list and final inspection, balancing change order and receipt of the lien-free certificate, authorize the release of retainage, and further authorize the board president to sign all necessary documents pertaining thereto.
So moved.
So move Mr. Dehart, second Mr. Crowdis. Any public comments? Mr. Dehart?
No, sir, thank you.
Mr. Crowdis? Any other board members? Any objection? Hearing none, motion passes. Recommendation number 7, the committee recommends that the board approve and accept the substantial completion dated September 12, 2023 for the building repairs at Bayou Black Elementary School in response to Hurricane Ida. Ratify change order in the amount of $49,193. Install electrical sub-panel, install plywood sheathing, replace lighting in second floor classrooms, replace one heater, replace damaged electrical wire, mold in computer lab, molding, I think we established, right?
Mold,
The
no.
molding, right.
Like a molding.
Not mold, but molding,
mold,
yeah. In computer lab and credit to remove VCT tile. Upon completion of the punch list and final inspection, balancing change order and receipt of the lien-free certificate, authorize the release of retainage, and further authorize the board president to sign all necessary documents pertaining thereto.
So moved.
So move, Mr. DeHart. Second, Dr. Trahan.
Yes, sir.
Any public comments? Mr. DeHart?
No, sir, thank you.
Dr. Trahan?
No, sir.
Any other board members? Any objections? Hearing none, motion passes. After that, we had some project managers, and there being no further business to come before BFT, the meeting was adjourned at 6:21 PM. I turn it back over to you, Madam President.
Thank you. Item 7D on tonight's agenda, Education, Technology, and Policy Committee. Ms. Benoit.
Thank you. The Education, Technology, and Policy Committee met immediately following the Finance, Insurance, and Section C and Building, Food, Service, and Transportation Committees on September 19th, 2023. Present were myself as chair, Mr. Ford as vice chair, and Mr. Don Crowdis. Also in attendance were Dr. Maybelle Trahan, Mr. Dane Voisin, Mr. Clyde Hamner, Mr. Roger Dale DeHart, Mr. Michael Lagarde, Mr. Gregory Harding, and Superintendent Ogeron and members of his staff. Recommendation number 1, that the board approve and accept as presented the following revised file D-1 annual operating budget.
So move.
Moved by Mr. Ford,
Second.
second by Mr. DeHart. Any public comment? Mr. Ford?
There's some concerns that I have with this recommendation. A few of us have those concerns. And it's dealing with the verbiage. Now, I understand these policy changes, they come from forethought, and a lot of times we just accept them as written. But there's some ambiguous language and some question regarding the language of the law for one of the sections, and it's the section entitled Assurance of Equitable Funding. The language in there, not only is it vague, but it could be very misleading, and it could subject us to, some sort of scrutiny in the future. So, if it'll please the board, I'd like to recommend an alternative motion where we delete that section altogether from this motion, from this policy.
All right, so I have a motion to delete. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. DeHart. Any public comment? All right, so any board members?
So regarding the amendment and the deletion, so there's words such as equitable, equivalence, and fair. These words are very subjective, and they're not, it all depends on who you are and what your point of view is, whether things are equitable, equivalent, or even fair. And the last I checked, I'm not a law expert, but I don't think these are words that are defined in the law anyway. This isn't language of the law, and we're writing policy that we have to follow. And, for lack of a better term, this is a very ambiguous, erroneous statement. We don't need an assurance of funding statement in here because we're already bound to, as fiduciaries for the people of this district, stakeholders of this district. So it goes without reason. We don't need this statement. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear why I wanted to take it out. And I want to make sure we don't pick up a practice of using these words, tossing them around. Equitable, equivalence, fair. Those are things that you can use in a classroom or maybe even when you're talking about curriculum. But whenever you're talking about policy, especially when it comes to funding, it's not necessary. It doesn't help. Thank you.
Mr. DeHart?
Well, I agree with the comments Mr. Ford made, but I learned a long time ago, and anybody that has an issue with the policy, words make a difference. And what I learned first of all was shall and may. Those two words meant a lot to me whenever I first but there's a true meaning and a more in-depth meaning. So this is the same basis. That's why I second it. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Any other board members?
So in reading the Forethought program, I came across a word that struck me in the language, and it said suggested language. And so that got me to thinking about, suggested language. So this is not necessarily necessary language. And then I began to read it, and along the same lines as what Mr. Ford has mentioned, it's kind of redundant and really unnecessary. And in discussing with Ms. Burrow, I think we came up with an alternative, but I think this alternative fits as well.
And we were
When you-
advised that we don't have to adopt this policy in Forethought. We can word it the way that we want.
We could reword it, which has been offered as well, or we don't need it at all. It's superfluous. It's unnecessary.
Right.
And again, addressing something that Mr. Dehart said, when you start making policy is pretty binding. You put yourself between a rock and a hard place when you start creating different policies and you don't have the correct structure and the correct wording of a policy as opposed to a guideline or a recommendation.
Right.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other board members? Mr. Ogeron?
So this policy is essential, however, right? It's just that last section. And the policy is relevant to revised statute 39, 1302, all the way through 1315. So that's the intent of the policy. So removing this portion doesn't change the intent and the correlation to that revised statute. So we're in good shape. We checked it out and with other districts, because most districts use Forethought, right? So some districts kept it, some districts omitted that section, just like we're doing tonight. So it's been done recently by many districts. And that was from Forethought that they shared this information with us. So a lot of the verbiage here, like I said, doesn't necessarily apply, but it's something we have to kind of be very aware of when we're dealing with federal funds and how to distribute them properly without supplanting. That doesn't necessarily apply to this particular revised statute. So that, I think what we're doing is totally fine
Sure.
by removing that paragraph.
Mr. DeHart?
I'd just like to make a comment to make sure, and I agree with the superintendent what he said, but Forethought's been doing this for years, and they're experts in their field. And I just feel that, this doesn't change the mechanism of the things, it's just language, and we just cleaned it up and made it more device and stuff. So I still like the idea of Forethoughts have been very successful on doing what's in best interest of school districts. So I just want to put that accolade out there. It's not anything against Forethoughts, it's just that it's clearer and it's more, less detailed.
Right.
Thank you.
So we have a new recommendation, a
Is
substitute.
it by an amendment or a substitute motion
Need a
deleting?
substitute motion.
It's a substitute motion, yes. And that is to omit the section here that refers to assurances or of equitable funding.
Exactly.
Just that section.
I will delete
Okay.
that section when I do
So-
the official proceedings.
Okay.
I will do that.
So we take it to a vote?
We need a motion. Did you get a motion and a second for that, for this?
It was
for the-
motioned by
Yes,
Mr.
I
Ford and
did.
seconded by Mr. DeHorn.
Right.
Yeah.
So any objections?
Okay.
One objection, so noted. The motion passes. All right, recommendation number 2. The committee recommends that the board approve and accept as presented the following revised policy file D-6.4 audits.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Ford, second by Mr. DeHart. Any public comment? Mr. Ford?
I just had a question. It was in the first paragraph, external audit shall, remember that word, shall and may. Shall be conducted of all school accounts every 3 years, but if I'm not mistaken, we do this every year, correct?
We do.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yes.
by language of law or by this policy, it's required every 3 years, but we're actually doing it every year.
Yes.
So, okay, just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Mr. Dehart, do you have any comments?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
He said it, what I was gonna say. Thank you.
Okay. Any board members? Any objections? Hearing none, so moved. Next, the recommendation number 3, the committee recommends that the board approve and accept as presented the following revised policy, file B-11.5, executive sessions.
So moved.
Moved by Dr. Trahan, second by Mr. Crowdis. Any public comment? Dr. Trahan?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Crowdis? Any board members? Any objections? Hearing none, so moved. Number 4, by the way, all of these that I'm reading right now are forethought policy recommendations. Okay, number 4 is the committee recommends that the board approve and accept as presented the following revised policy file E-1.2C, video audio monitoring of school board property.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Dehart, second by Mr. Ford. Any public comment? Mr. Dehart?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Ford?
No, ma'am.
Any board members? Yes, Mr. Crowdis?
Mr. Orgeron, the bottom part there where it says notification shall also include the erection of clearly marked written signs prominently displayed near the main entrance of school buildings. We'll be able, have we accomplished that, or we?
It's
will-
partially accomplished already. We've gotten the signage
Okay,
made, and they're just gonna stick them on, Ms. Talbert's working with the principals on that as we speak. Or this week, should I say.
thank you.
Any objections? Hearing none, so moved. Recommendation number 5, the committee recommends that the board approve and accept as presented the following revised policy file F-11.4, sick leave.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Dehart, second by Mr. Voisin. Any public comment? Mr. Dehart?
I'm just gonna make a small comment, and I hope I'm not offending anyone. But this sick leave policy is very, very good for the school system. And COVID kind of relaxed that a little bit. And, you know, at that time, employees worked from home. And some people who, recently worked from home end up taking sick leave whenever they're sick. And I'm just saying, I just hope we get back online and on track where we were before COVID, because that's the only comment I want to make, and I think it's a positive comment.
Thank you. Mr. Voisin? Any other board members? Any objections? Hearing none, so moved. Recommendation number 6, the committee recommends that the board approve and accept as presented the following revisions to policy file F-11.6, maternity and adoptive leave.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Mr. Dehart, second by Dr. Trahan. Any public comment? Mr. Dehart?
No, ma'am.
Dr. Trahan? Any board members? Any objections? Hearing none, so moved. Number 7, committee recommends that the board approve and accept as presented the following revised policy file E-1.1B, emergency and crisis management. Moved by Mr. Voisin, second by Mr. Ford. Any public comment? Mr. Voisin? Mr. Ford?
I don't have any comments.
No comment?
Well, the first line, crisis management and response, unanticipated tragic events. Are there tragic events that we can actually anticipate? So it's one of those things that, once again, it's redundant, but I'm not gonna make a fuss about it. Unanticipated, okay, I get that. But tragic events are never really anticipated. They shouldn't be anyway. I mean,
That's conspiracy theorists.
well, no, but going through this, you know, we were at that conference last week, and one of the things we were briefed on was that hour-long presentation was really thorough and good by the state police guy, Mr. Bird, and I was impressed. I mean, Toops, I'm sorry, and I was impressed. And this just kind of goes along with that. We're in the school environment today is totally different than when it was when I was in school, and much different than it was when you guys were in school, which wasn't much too far apart, but you know.
Watch it.
this is one of those necessary evils and the change that we need. And, you know, one of the things he said in that presentation, and I've heard it several times because I used to work in HFC, is safety is not comfortable and it's not convenient. And if we want our kids and our schools to be safe, sometimes they're gonna be uncomfortable and sometimes it's gonna be inconvenient. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board members? Any objections? Hearing none, so moved. Recommendation number 8, the committee recommends that the board approve and accept as presented the following revised policy, file E-1.1F, public health emergency. Moved by Dr. Trahan, second by Mr. Ford. Any public comment? Dr. Trahan?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Ford? Any board members? Any objections? Hearing none, so moved. Recommendation number 9, the committee recommends that the board approve and accept as presented the following revised policy file E-3, student transportation management.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Ford, second by Dr. Trahan. Any public comment? Mr. Ford?
I do have a comment. I read, there's been several times that I've read this, but most recently I read one of our bus drivers post online. And it's a post that's been getting shared, and it talks about how the bus driver, you know, they're ultimately responsible every morning and every afternoon to get those kids safely from home to school and safely from school to home. And their first priority is always the rules of the road and to make sure they're being defensive drivers. And when they have to deal with distractions and other things, and I think the biggest problem we face right now with these situations is a parent's expectation for the bus driver to be in 2 places at once and to watch 5 places at once. So when we put policies like this in place where we're dealing with students who are, you know, disruptive or misbehaving on a bus, I think it just puts those bus drivers at an advantage, and it helps us to mitigate some of these problems or potential liabilities we have.
This
So-
was not actually the one where we
Oh, this is
initiated
it?
the policy. This is a policy regarding school activities.
Oh, I was
Yeah.
ahead of my time. then.
Yeah,
It was fitting.
yeah,
Yeah.
it fits, but it,
Probably more to the next one.
right, the next one is the recommendation.
Oh, that's the one we're not, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right, my fault. Scratch
Yeah.
that. I'll say it again all over.
Okay, well, I forgot where we were now. Dr. Trahan, did you have any comment?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Any board members? Any objections? Hearing none, so moved. And the last one was something that we did as a district, as a board, to mitigate the problems that you were referring to that are problematic for our bus drivers. And our bus drivers, we just gave them a raise. We need more bus drivers, and I think that this policy will help maybe attract more bus drivers, because this is basically like a zero tolerance for fighting on a bus. And what it says is, it's informational, because we don't need to recommend it. It's been adopted already
ma'am.
by the school
Yes, ma'am.
district. But I'll read what it says. It's students who participate in fistic encounters on the bus will be expelled from the bus for a minimum of 1 semester or 88 school days for the first offense, and no less than 2 semesters, 177 days, removal for subsequent violations. So we needed to have this, I think, and I just hope that this is passed on to the principals announce it to the students, and also at parent meetings, how severe the punishment is for any fighting on the bus. And I hope that they, in turn, impress with their children that they better not do this, because they will be severely, there will be severe consequences for any fighting on the bus. Mr. Ford, would you like to add anything?
You could rewind the tape. One thing I want to add, though, is if you think about how we started off this school year with all the struggles we had with transportation, and there were some people out there that were upset that their students weren't getting picked up by buses, right? This would just further anger them or frustrate them if we were to allow this type of behavior to continue, right? So I think that's one of the things we're dealing with is, it's gonna help the bus drivers, it's gonna help, students feel a little safer. And, you know, kids are gonna be kids, they're still gonna make mistakes, but when they do these things, they need to learn the lesson. And the lesson may be that they can't ride the bus again, at least for that year or another year, whatever the case may be. But that's the only way we're gonna learn. Some of us have to learn the hard way. I was one of those kids, I get it. But, you know, those lessons that I learned the hard way have done me good along the way as well, in the long run. So I'm pleased about this.
We actually have 13 rules here that, for riding the school bus, and I don't know if that is given to students or it's just buried in our policy somewhere, but I think every student that rides a bus needs to get these 13 rules and maybe have parents sign it and get it back to the bus driver so that we know they
Yes, ma'am.
understand these
Yes, ma'am.
rules.
It's given, and,
It
Ms.
is.
Benoit, you mentioned, give credit to Mr. Tarbert and Mr. Butler, for inserting it into this code of conduct, communicating it to our principals, which they've done already, and principals for disseminating the message to their student body. So that's all been done since our, committee meeting.
Very
A little
good.
premature, but we did it, because that's where we're headed. That's what we're
Good.
gonna do.
I'm very pleased about that. Thank you. Yes, Mr. DeHart.
Just have a question. Is this a brand-new addition to the policy, or we had that in place already?
It's a brand-new addition. It's a
Brand new
one
addition.
sentence that we inserted into the code of conduct. It's not a policy, just code of conduct.
Because earlier this year, we had a situation.
That's
And-
right.
And I just want to make sure it was taken care of, or that,
No, that's
in
why
re-
That's
I
why
asked
it
about
prompted.
Yes,
this.
sir.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
I asked about having something like this put in because we don't want that to ever happen again.
because I wasn't pleased with the outcome, you know, but
Right,
there are consequences whenever you make bad choices
Right.
with students. Thank you.
right. Yes, Mr. Crowdis?
So before I got on the school board, I used to sit in that seat in the back there against the wall and kind of listen to all the talkings going on. And I spoke to Mr. Devlin after a meeting one time, and it was regarding bus drivers. And he said, I asked him, I said, you know, what do you think one of the reasons for difficulty in keeping bus drivers? And he said a lot of issues is discipline. The bus drivers just don't want to deal with the kids. So I'm very glad, thank you, Mr. Tolbert, for this policy, and I think it's absolutely needed. And the other thing that I wanted to say regarding your 13 steps, so when I was riding the bus as a kid, we had a bus driver named Mr. Dewey, and he had this sign on the front of the bus that was pretty well seen. He said, "I'm the bus driver, so sit down and shut up." I don't think it would be a bad idea to maybe laminate these 13 rules and maybe post
'em on
them
the
to the
bus.
very front of the bus so that they're visible and every kid can read them and see them. There'll be no excuse for misbehavior.
That's a good idea, too.
I missed that.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, so we also had presentations by some of the supervisors, Mr. Tolbert, Mr. Hodson, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Dillard, Dr. Bro, and Mr. Pellegrin. And we will continue to have those as part of our committee each month. There being no further business, I turn the meeting back over to you, Dr. Strong.
Thank you, ma'am. Item number 8, superintendent's agenda.
Okay, 8A1 is matter bearing upon sale of previously declared surplus property located at 8542 Main Street, Dageville School.
So moved.
Second.
Is this?
So it's just informational, right?
informational.
But thank you for, yep. So any questions on that? What we're gonna do, we're gonna reappraise that property. It's outside of a year since its previous appraisal, so we've got to redo it. That's no longer valid, and then we're gonna go to sale with that
So
property.
do we go back to bid, or do we go back to the original?
Go back to sealed bids is what we're gonna do.
Okay.
And it's, Becky can clarify this for us, but if I remember correctly, it's 85%, we've got to accept no less than 85% of the appraised value, okay? So that's round one, right, Stan? Then if we don't get that, we go to round two, and then you can go down to 80% round two, and then there's a third round, which is where you can accept any reasonable,
It's laid out in the statute.
yep, so we follow the statute on that.
So my question is this: would anyone outside of this room know what that appraisal comes back at after that first bid?
I'm not sure.
No, they,
So we can,
it's a close, so you can get more than appraisal.
But I'm
based
saying-
on the bids.
if they don't appraise, if no bids are at 85%, we
tell them
reject
that
their
we
bid.
reject their bids, but we tell them because it hadn't reached 85%.
Okay, but we don't tell them what the price is.
Then you advertise it again and it goes out for a second bid.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions?
I have a question. Did you say you were going to get the building appraised as well,
Building and property, yes.
and property?
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Okay, you had something, sir?
Yeah, I know we had it declared surplus and we had a potential bidder, and then something took place where we have to redo it, so we're back to square one, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's good. I just want to clarify that. Thank you.
Okay, 8B1, resolution in observance of National School Bus Safety Week, October 16th to the 20th, 2023. The recommendation that the board approve the following resolution recognizing October 16th through the 20th, 2023 as National School Bus Safety Week.
Moved by Mr. Voisin. Second by Mr. Crowders. Any public comment? Mr. Voisin? Ms. Crowders? Any other board members? Any objections? None heard, so ordered. Want to read the resolution?
I'll read it, yeah. Okay, whereas Louisiana parish and city systems provide free transportation for students each school day, whereas the citizens of this state recognize the efforts and dedication of the administrators, teachers, school bus drivers, and other employees who make the school systems operational on a daily basis. Whereas all officials of public and non-public schools strive for the efficient and safe transportation of all students, and whereas the state of Louisiana and the Department of Education and the Office of School and Community Support recognize the commendable efforts displayed by all involved in the school transportation program. Now therefore it be resolved that the Terrebonne Parish School Board does hereby proclaim the week of October 16th to the 20th, 2023 as National School Bus Safety Week. And be it further resolved that copies of this resolution will be forwarded to all Terrebonne Parish schools and the office buildings. Okay, number 2, resolution in observance of the month of October 2023 as National Anti-Bullying Month. The recommendation is that the board approve the following resolution in observance of the month of October 2023 as National Anti-Bullying Month.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. DeHart, second by Mr. Ford. Any public comment? Mr. DeHart?
No, ma'am.
Ms. Ford?
I just wanted to, I know we do this normally, or the schools do this, but I want to encourage the superintendent to, let the administrators know to have, you do a lot of fundraising during this month with the Orange Shirt Day and all those things that they do. Is that something we're still doing? And
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I always like this time of the year to talk about bullying. I think that word gets used far too often. So it's good to educate the students on what bullying is and in particular, or sometimes more, what bullying is not. But the fundraising and the orange shirts and the drawing attention to it is really a good thing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any
Yes,
other
sir.
school board members? Any objections? None heard, so ordered. I'll read this.
Okay.
Whereas school bullying has become an increasingly significant problem in the United States, whereas almost 20% of the youth of the United States are estimated to be involved in bullying each year, either as a bully or as a victim, whereas an estimated 160,000 students in kindergarten through 12th grade miss school every day for the fear of being bullied. Whereas bullying can take many forms, including verbal, physical, and most recently in cyberspace, and can happen in many places on and off school grounds. Whereas it's important for the Terrebonne Parish School Board District administrators to be aware of bullying and to encourage discussion of the problem as a school system. Whereas the Terrebonne Parish School District is united in its desire to educate and encourage positive behaviors and to eliminate bullying behaviors, now therefore be it resolved that the Terrebonne Parish School District hereby proclaims its unified commitment to the education and prevention of bullying within our communities and schools, exploring solutions to the problem, including cyberbullying, and offering support in raising awareness and recognizing the month of October 2023 as the National Anti-Bullying Month in the Terrebonne Parish Public Schools. And be it further resolved that copies of this resolution will be forwarded to all Terrebonne Parish public schools and public offices. Number 3.
Number 3, resolution declaring the month of November 2023 as Native American Indian Heritage Month in the Terrebonne Parish School System. The recommendation is that the board approve the following resolution declaring the month of November 2023 as Native American Indian Heritage Month in Terrebonne Parish Schools.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. DeHart.
Second.
Second by Ms. Benoit. Any public comment? Mr. DeHart?
This is a positive comment. This is very important to all students, regardless if you're Indian, white, or Afro-American. And I'm very disappointed to see this year a couple sites at schools because the lower population was moved. And I think it's very important to remember everybody's heritage, you know. And I know you can't have programs all over, but year after year, I've seen programs through this Indian program, very positive impact on all of the students whenever you had the activities. So whenever you eliminated from one school because of the population drop, there's still students in this category that's going to be at that school that's being left out. And I just don't like any program left out for any organization, just like we do Afro-American Month or, you know, Cajun Month, whatever. It's just that it really connects kids more and more. And in today's world, that's why I want to make that comment that this is a positive program throughout the parish, and we're very fortunate to have this kind of program.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
DeHart. Ms. Benoit?
No, ma'am.
Any other board members? Mr. Ford?
So I'm just pleased that they're doing this, you know, going through elementary and junior high. I don't remember ever having the Native American History Month or anything. And, you know, my dad was full-blooded Indian, so he preached that to me, you know, religiously about being proud of my heritage. And, you know, he wasn't from this side of the Native American, he was from up north. But it's the same pride, it's the same culture, you know, and I'm just glad that they have this these days for these kids. But I'm with Mr. DeHart on this. I want to see more activities, and I think we could take a break from our academics every now and then to do these cultural activities, because that's part of the learning process also. That's you know, teaching the overall child. So I'm pleased that we're doing it, but I would like to encourage every school to have something, to do something, get involved some kind of way. Thank you.
Any other board members? Any objections? None heard, so ordered. Your turn.
All right, the resolution reads as follows. Whereas the Title VI Indian Education Program is a viable part of the Terrebonne Parish educational system, whereas emphasis on the cultural heritage of Indian students is one of the 4 goals of the Title VI Indian Education Grant, whereas the month of November has been observed as Native American Indian Heritage Month since 1990. Whereas instructional lessons on Indians and their heritage are traditionally taught to students during the month of November, and whereas Title VI Indian education staff and the Title VI Indian Education Parent Committee are requesting that the month of November 2023 be recognized as Native American Indian Heritage Month in the Terrebonne Parish School System. Now therefore be it resolved that the Terrebonne Parish School Board does hereby declare the month of November 2023 as Native American Indian Heritage Month in the Terrebonne Parish School System, and be it further resolved that copies of this resolution be forwarded to all Terrebonne Parish public schools and departments. Okay, number 4, consideration of the approval of bid received for the roof repair replacement project at Evergreen Junior High. The recommendation is that the board approve and accept the next lowest bid, meeting all specifications, as a result of Terrebonne Parish School Board versus Morecore Roofing LLC, docket number 196181, for the roof repair replacement project in response to Hurricane Ida at Evergreen Junior High School, from Roof Technologies, Roof Tech, 631 Manhattan Boulevard, Harvey, Louisiana, 70058, in the amount of $1,359,000, pending receipt of all necessary documents, and establish a total project budget in the amount of $1,496,783. Funds to be derived from FEMA reimbursement funds, $1,347,104.70, and local funds, $149,678.30, and further authorize the board president to sign all necessary documents pertaining thereto.
So moved.
So moved, Ms. Benoit. Second, Mr. Ford. Any public comment? Any other board, excuse me, Ms. Benoit?
No.
Mr. Ford? Any other board members?
Amen.
Any objections? None heard, so ordered.
Okay. Number 5, consideration of approval of a bid received for the roof repair replacement project at Schriever Elementary School. The recommendation is that the board approve and accept the next lowest bid, meeting all specifications, as a result of Terrebonne Parish School Board versus Morecore Roofing LLC, docket number 196183, for the roof repair replacement project in response to Hurricane Ida at Schriever Elementary School, from Edward J. Lapros Metalworks Incorporated, P.O. Box 9017, Houma, Louisiana, 70361, in the amount of $263,000, plus alternate number 1 for $45,000, owner upgrade for complete replacement of roof on 2-story classroom building, pending receipt of all necessary documents. Establish a total project budget in the amount of $344,935. Funds to be derived from FEMA reimbursement funds. That would be at $269,941.50, and local funds, $74,993.50, and further authorize the board president to sign all necessary documents pertaining thereto.
So moved.
Second.
So moved for Mr. DeHart,
Yes.
second by Mr. Ford. Any public comment? Mr. DeHart?
Well, I know that the vendor that's now gonna have it, if this passes, does excellent work and is local, so I'm glad to see progress being made. Thank you.
Mr. Ford?
Schriever's not going anywhere, so I'm glad they're getting the roof too.
Yes, sir.
Any other board members? Mr. Crowders?
Can, remind me again what the alternate 145,000 owner upgrade?
Okay, so, okay, yes,
What
sir. So there's another building, it's called the 2-story building, and it's a very old roof. It's old. It wasn't damaged, however, it's at the age that it's about ready to be replaced. So while they're there, we're gonna add this into the project.
And that
And
building is something we use.
yes, sir.
Yep.
And, yes, sir.
Anyone else? Any objections? None heard, so ordered.
Okay, number 6 is a personnel section, leave of absence, family and medical leave. Recommendation is that the board approve a family and medical leave in accordance with policy file F-11.4A for Colleen M. Payne, custodian 3A at Grand Caillou Middle School, beginning September 13th, 2023 through December 7th, 2023, medical.
So moved.
DeHart?
Second.
by Ms. Benoit. Any public comment? Mr. DeHart?
No.
Ms. Benoit?
No, ma'am.
Any other board members? Any objections? None heard, so ordered.
And board members, provided for you are the personnel actions for the period of August 25th, 2023 through September 22, 23, and that's information only.
Thank you, Mr. Ogeron. Our next item, individual board member, legislative update, Ms. Benoit.
Thank you, Dr. Trahan. Our state representatives are not in session right now, so there's no real action going on with the state, although I did hear that the Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, has been ousted. It's the first in history that ever a House Speaker has been ousted, so they're now pretty much shut down until they can vote on another speaker. They can't move forward, so let's pray that they get together and decide on a speaker soon. As far as our local elections, I just want to remind everybody that voting is October 14th. Early voting started on Saturday, and so if that's what you plan to do, get out there and vote. We have a candidate here on a board, remind you of that. So that's about it legislatively. It's very quick and easy. I went, there was no line at all, just went right through. So, yeah, if you're inclined to vote early, yeah, do it.
I surely would like to encourage everyone to go vote. That's your voice. If you don't use your voice, how can you make things change?
That's right.
May I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
There are 4 constitutional amendments on the ballot coming up. Just want to remind all our school board members that constitutional amendment number 3 directly affects the teachers' retirement system of Louisiana. It increases the payment toward the unfunded accrued liability using excess state funds from 10% to 25%. And it also spreads that out prorated among the 4 major retirement systems in the state instead of only 2. That is a good thing for our public employees and for our teachers.
Yeah. We also have on recommendation number 4, too, where they're changing from using some funds for, I think it's the health units, and they're converting that to things that they'll use for schools. So,
Safety in particular, right?
safety, yeah, school safety, so that's a good recommendation.
So rededication, not a new.
It's not new, it's just rededicating the funds from one item to another. But the schools are going to actually benefit from that.
Anything else? Very good. Number 10, adjournment, excuse me, I can't say that, adjournment. There being no further business to become before the board of
Yeah,
October
yeah.
3rd, 2023, Terrebonne Parish School Board monthly meeting is adjourned.